Hey everybody, and welcome to a new open source intelligence talk with the osintcurious crew. And we're going to interview today a very special guest called Tokyo, which I was very much looking forward to talking with her. But before we do that, let's briefly introduce each other. Let me first go to Ray.
Hey, so my name is Ray, Wondersmith Ray on Twitter, and I work in OSINT and Cyber Recon.
Next up, Sector.
Hi everyone, Sector 035 here. You can find me on Twitter and everywhere else.
And almost last but not least, Micah.
Hi everybody, Micah Hoffman here, web reacher on all the major platforms. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and my name is Nico Dekens, also known as Dutch_OSINT guy on all the internets. And now let me take a short moment to introduce Tokyo. Well, most of you will probably know her by the handle of Tokyo_V2, version 2. So there must be more Tokyos out there, I assume. Tokyo is from London, which is also kind of funny too. Tokyo is from London. And well, she's a female researcher that is well known within the open source intelligence community. She's part of the Searchlight team. And well, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit more, Tokyo. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Yes, I'm from London, and I think I'll probably also tell you why my nickname is Tokyo. But I just enjoy OSINT, researching and getting involved in this industry as much as I can, really. So yes, but no, thank you for the lovely introduction.
So, well, for those who do not know you, I know you, for instance, from your Medium blogs and as well as things you post upon your Twitter. Can you tell us a little bit more how you got started within open source intelligence and what makes your OSINT clock tick?
Of course. So I think I started about 3 years ago. I think, like everyone else, I used to do OSINT before without actually knowing that I was doing OSINT. Only now that I know what it entails, that I knew what I was up to. So I think I've always had like a critical thinking. I was always curious, but I think maybe a couple of years ago I just started asking myself a lot more questions when I was watching, for example, NCIS. How did they actually do it? How did they find this person? Is that website real, or is there a real equivalent of the website? So I think I just started to be more curious in this industry, and asking myself a lot more questions that I was just researching on my own without knowing what I was going to get into. And I think one day I just started doing challenges on Twitter, and I think I did quite well on a challenge that I got recognized and tagged in as the only one to have solved this challenge, and that just gave me such a big boost that not the fact that I was the only one, but the fact that I managed to do something so special, so different that what I'm doing in real life. And it was thrilling, really. And I saw on Twitter an event happening in London. I registered at the very last minute. I think it was, I don't remember what it's called exactly, something to do with investigations and research. And I thought it just looked appealing. It was for free. So I thought, why not? I went there and I felt everyone, you could tell everyone around me was from the industry. Everyone deserved to be there. I didn't. And I just watched and listened to everything they had to say. It was an amazing conference, I think, and I was just so excited to be there. I think I wrote almost everything down that they wrote and that they spoke about. And there I met couple of people that basically, this is where it all started, that took me under their wing and introduced me to even more people that I'm still friends with right now. And they just showed me the ropes. They started showing me exactly what this was, that the name OSINT came to me. Now I knew what this was, and they started giving me small challenges just to see what I can do in a way, how my brain works, and just so that I can have an idea of what this is, have fun. And I started learning. We started playing more challenges, and then I went on Twitter, and that's where I met everyone else, and everything else started from there. I think as soon as I joined Twitter, the world opened up, and is probably the reason why I'm even here today. But this
That's an
is
awesome
roughly,
story.
I happened to go
Yeah.
to a conference where I met amazing people. They were so welcoming, if I'm honest, and everyone has been, and that's the reason why I kept going, really. Yeah, I was curious, and that's how it all started.
You were
Oh.
OSINT curious.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we like
Put it in
OSINT
there,
curious
Micah.
people. Yeah.
And
So-
that's
so-
such a different story. Usually you hear about Twitter being like a dumpster fire, or it's the most terrible place. But in your case, it was a place where you found yourself welcomed. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yes, from day one, I did, and I spoke to people, to friends that I'm even friends with right now, and I met people in real life. I met with some investigators from London, and they met me in real person. So it was lovely to, because of course I don't use my real identity. It was lovely to show and see people in real life, just for them to see me as well, just to kind of get a little bit of personality, ideas from one another, and just get involved outside my computer, away from my computer. But no, absolutely, the Twitter team has been very welcoming, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm still here today.
Cool.
Yeah, very interesting. And I also like hearing you talk about you saying that you started, let's say 3 years ago, if I recall correct, you saying that, and you basically self-taught yourself how to conduct open source intelligence, right?
Correct. Yes, I started slowly. Yes, 3 years ago. I think I only joined Twitter 2 years ago, but I was teaching myself, of course, with the help of my friends, and sharing resources and doing challenges together. But pretty much everything on my own laptop. Yes.
So, because we get a lot of questions from our viewers and audience, so how to start out within open source intelligence, and well, you're just telling us now that, well, it can be done. You did it. You have proven it that it can be done. So, when you started out, what were some resources for you that you may now want to point out to other people who are starting out in open source intelligence?
So I think for me, what helped the most, I think it's the couple of things really that have helped me personally. Me going outside in London physically and meeting people. I think for me, that of course that is what started all this, and just being able to actually have a one-to-one conversation with someone, and like in my case, finding a free conference related to this industry in London, and getting involved, and having the courage to speak to people who are obviously experienced and professionals. And I remember I was incredibly scared because I didn't know anything. I was incredibly scared to ask them anything because I didn't think it would take me seriously. And I think that was incredible for me, not just to boost my confidence, but them to share their knowledge forward, and to put me to even more people, and I made more friends. So I think that was incredibly helpful for me. And from then I attended even more conferences around London, exhibitions, that just put me through even more people, and finding out other people in the industry. So, but other thing as well was to join Twitter. That was another big moment for me, and I maybe wish I'd joined Discord a little bit sooner, but because everything is so overwhelming at the beginning, it is always good to just take your time and not rush into it, because there's time to do them all, and everything will come to it. But it was incredibly overwhelming for me to just be able to look at all these resources, look at all these websites, look at all these people. What do I look at first? And I think that was, in a way, the main struggle. But being part of the Twitter team, I think it was it was important to be able to speak to people individually and find out exactly what am I interested in, so I can tailor these resources to what I'm interested in and start with that. So yeah, I
I have
think
a
these
question.
two for sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Sure.
interrupt you.
No, that's
so
okay.
You said that going to conferences in London in person was something that helped you, but I know you, and I know you're very privacy minded. So do you find it's hard to be as privacy minded as you would like to be, but also put yourself out there and maybe get your name known at the same time?
I agree. I completely agree. This is definitely hard. It's tricky, and it impedes me from doing things sometimes, and sometimes they can be amazing things. But I mean, of course, for me, there might be different reasons why I'm going private than maybe what sector is, for example. I purely do it for work reasons, but otherwise, I would love to do this for real. I would love to get the recognition under my real name, and maybe one day I will. But it is hard, yes. The good thing about exhibitions, for example, is that no one really looks at your name, and if you are to give an email, which I have plenty of spare emails, backup emails, that they wouldn't necessarily know that that's not you. So I think that's the good thing about exhibitions, that they see so many people, they're probably never going to remember your face again. Who knows? I mean, if you meet them again, but it has gone to a point where I have revealed myself to people where I've met them, and I have done that with some people in London. I've trusted them to be able to meet with them and learn from them, and so I've been very lucky to do that. But I completely agree. I think that's the only thing that stands in my way on moving forward with this, because
I mean, I think you've done incredible for being behind a username alone. I mean, I've done research with you on the side, and I think your research capabilities are incredible. So I just wanted to say
thank you
that.
so much. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
speaking of
Yeah.
that, I have a question for basically Tokyo and Ray together. So I know you both have that blog up on that Medium page that you run at Tokyo. That's the one on Airbnb. So can you tell me how you came to the inspiration for that blog? Because that's something that always inspires me so much. When people come up with an awesome blog idea, they share it out in the open for everybody to read and see and learn from. But what triggers you to do these things? And in this case, particularly, what triggered you to do this together with Ray?
Yeah, I'm going to give this one to Tokyo, because this was definitely her idea. I just supported her on this one.
No, absolutely. I think that's my most cherished blog. I had a lot of fun doing it, and the fact that I worked with Ray on it was incredible. I think it was amazing to share our experiences and just work together on this. But I think from an early stage, I enjoyed finding different ways of finding information online. So I'm really interested at what other ways can you do this specific thing. Is there any other way that you can find this result? It is like in maths, basically. When your teacher tells you, prove that you've gotten to this result, or how else can you do it? And I think that's when I started looking at other ways to find basically information that people are putting out there that could be potentially risky for them. And because I'm also a privacy enthusiast, I always have that in my mind. Yes, we can find so much information about these people here, but I also would like to see how we can remove that, how they can remove it. And with Airbnb I think it was all about the fact that all the comments were public, and there was just so much information about it, about people, about who stayed where, what time exactly, who visited, and it involved a lot of real names and addresses. And I found that fascinating that Airbnb allows that to happen. I think they've become more strict since, but if I'm honest, a lot of the websites do that. Their comments are still public, and it's hard to monitor so many comments on a website, but a lot of them sneak through and reveal a lot of personal information. So I think, yes, I think my main.
And I think just starting with the privacy policy, we were looking through, and it was kind of shocking all the stuff that they keep. Like, what was it? You have to put your passport. Some people have to send their passport pictures in, and driver's license pictures, and they keep those for so many years. And
absolutely. And I think for there's positives and negatives for a website like this. I think sometimes they have every right to do so. And if I were to be on the other end, I would like to trust the person I'm going to stay at. So that was the good thing about the article as well. It's just in a way that we have to look at it that, yes, it's a legit website. This happens everywhere, but people just have to be more careful, not necessarily to not comment, because obviously this is a business after all, but be incredibly careful that what they do comment can maybe be bad for someone else or for themselves as well. So I think it was, and the privacy policy, few people actually check and look at it. So I think for this one in particular, it was good to push that to the front and just show people exactly what is happening, because it's just things that people don't really take into consideration or they forget about. And after this, I've had people coming and saying, I didn't think about that, or I haven't thought about that in such a long time. And I was happy to see that people are making changes.
I think that happens with a lot of the platforms, though, is, whether it's emerging ones like Clubhouse or Parlay or Parler or whatever, people don't realize what they're posting, how they're posting it, what they're sharing, until somebody like us says, look, I can collect all of this, and this tells me everywhere you've been in the last 24 days or whatever. Or this, let me show you the picture of what you've just given away. And of course, the platforms, they collect more of that data. So in your research that you do in the Airbnb and in other places, do you find yourself writing those articles from the perspective, like you mentioned, of I'm going to show you what people can do so that you protect yourself better? Or is it more about the investigation?
For me, I think it has to be a little bit of both. Yes, I'm a huge privacy enthusiast, but I would like to show that by showing them the hard truth, and sometimes the hard truth is proving and showing exactly how easy you can find this information, what you might be able to do with this information, and who else can see this information. So, but absolutely, it sometimes is hard to be quite balanced, but I think it's something that it drives me to even start these blogs, to just be able to look at what is, in a way, the harshest example that could potentially just show everyone else what it does. And so I have done that in one of my latest articles as well, where I've just basically proven exactly where a picture was taken from. Someone left a review online and showed exactly where the picture was taken from. So I think it just is very important that people do take this seriously, because even if they don't necessarily have to have their face on the screen for people to find out where the picture is taken from.
Well, I think that also brings us a little bit to a question from one of our people on Twitter who, I asked before we did this interview to our community, do you have questions for Tokyo or for during the interview? And we had one question coming from Alex with a lot of numbers in his username. And he basically asks us, I'm just starting out, but I wonder if they've ever seen OSINT abused. So in this case, you, Tokyo, have you ever seen OSINT being abused? For example, half-baked doxing or bad actors that like cartels that are using open source intelligence. Have you run into that? Because, well, you basically discussed a lot of things that could also be abused, right?
Absolutely, and I think everyone has seen a little bit of it. Maybe some more than others. I think the most I've seen it is unfortunately on TikTok. I created an account for a research paper a while ago, so there was a time where I spent a lot of time on it, and I managed to see a lot of things. But that's where I see a lot of doxing. And I think that's been brought out to Twitter as well recently. People, like every creator, they get bad comments from people, but some take it a little bit too far. And they, of course, they try and find as much as they can about that creator in particular. They're not happy with something, they'll try and find everything they can about this person, and they'll publish and post it forward, not blurring anything, including absolutely everything they have without realizing the consequences. I've seen that a lot on TikTok, and unfortunately these posts are not being deleted, or they're not being flagged, I think, not enough to be taken down.
And that could be really dangerous. There's
yeah.
a lot of like teenagers and younger
Yes.
people on there, and if they get doxxed and their location is found, sometimes creeps can do some damage.
Absolutely. I know TikTok, of course, they've got an age limit, but people squeeze through. Kids, children, there's plenty of them on there, and I think that's why they just have to be a lot more stricter, because there's so much content on there that can be detrimental to someone's career, which is one example that I saw, is someone basically just taking someone down and showing real information that could reveal her identity. But yes, I've definitely seen it, and I think it's just a little bit more and more, and that's why I think it's important to show people how to do this properly, because it's easy to go the wrong way if they don't know what is happening, how they're doing it, or what this is really.
So with you now being 3 years into OSINT, and well, looking at your blogs, and you're doing wonderful stuff, what also interests me, because well, I'm European, I speak Dutch on average, I can speak English, or at least I try to, but I also noticed that you have 2 blogs, one that are about open source intelligence in Japan, which are character sets that I have a hard time reading. So can you tell me a little bit more on for instance, I was interviewed, I think 2 years ago, by one of the largest newspapers in Japan, and only then I knew about how huge open source intelligence and the subject matter is over in that part of the world. So can you tell me, let's say if I was someone who has never read or does not understand Japan or Japanese, where would I start? Where would I start to look when I want to do, let's say, I want to find someone in Japan?
True. I have lately started to focus on Japan. I think I've been fascinated by Japan for a while, and my username actually is from the Netflix show La Casa de Papel. So I was just excited and fascinated by the fact that they were using countries as nicknames. And yes, I've been a fan of Japan, Tokyo for a while. I am learning Japanese at the minute, so that's driven me even more to look into the country. But I have started these blogs basically to do exactly what I think you're asking, to start structuring what I'm learning, how to learn it, what to learn first, what to focus on, and to put it down on paper or type it on the website to know, to be able to structure it and be able to go back into it as well. There is, with Japan, there's all or nothing. So for example, when I do play GeoGuessr, I only play GeoGuessr Japan. That's it. Nothing else. No other maps. But it's basically, how would I start with GeoGuessr? It can be very challenging because there's so much. It can be so much that you can find, or so little that you can do. That is geolocation in Japan, which I'm slowly starting to dig deep into it in my blogs. Not just the fact that you can find yourself in Japan, but where in Japan exactly, and that's the toughest part for me. In terms of resources and finding people, I haven't reached that part yet on my blogs, but I have found many resources for telephone numbers, for example. I think license plates and telephone numbers are gold mines when it comes to Japan, because they have many websites for companies. So if you are to see a shop outside, they will have the phone number on. You are going to get a website where you're going to get the exact location of that shop. They're very accurate, and there's some websites that are very good at that. When it comes to other locations and vehicles or license plates as well, the license plate is very different than somewhere else in the world, anywhere else in the world. But the license plates will give you prefecture names and cities where the car is registered in. So again, you're even closer than you think if you are to find one. Google, of course, blurs the majority of the license plates, but there are a few that aren't, and I've found quite a few in Japan, which is really good. I think they have a great source a lot of great resources online. I just try to find them as I play and as I need them. So if I were to need something, I will go and spend time researching how to find maybe this shop in Japan, or this car looks like a K car, which is primarily used in Japan. What can I do with this car? What's the license plates? You have even the fire car, the police car, they've got specific numbers on them, and you'll be able to track it down. I found a lovely fire map the other day, interactive map, which is beautiful. I can't wait to share it in Japan, and it gives so much information. But so again, there's just so much out there for them. But I think for me, it's about looking a little bit of everything, structuring it, putting it together, and being able to use it as time comes, really. But yeah, primarily that.
So we've been doing GeoGuessr type stuff live in a kind of collaborative fashion. And I know we've collaborated on projects, and specifically the one I really liked working on was our puppy scam that we did.
Okay, yeah.
And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about maybe how, if you like collaborating, if that helps, and then what you did on the puppy scam blog and what parts you liked about that.
True. So I thoroughly enjoyed getting involved. It was long days and long nights on it. I enjoy getting involved with other people as well. I mean, I love my solo blogs, but just working with someone else is completely different. And because I'd worked with you before, I knew we were going to bring out a really good blog. I thoroughly enjoyed collaborating. I've done that before with other people as well. So I feel more confident. I feel I can actually just fully show myself and just try and put everything on the table. The puppy scam was a great idea and a great real example to get stuck in. I love researching, doing GeoGuessr, but when it comes to real things, I think that's something that I've thoroughly enjoyed to practice for real and put my skills to good use, really. And this was a great example for that. I knew this was a real case and we're going to get real results with it. The good thing about it is I loved that there was so much social media to get involved in. We had so much information at one point, and it was good that we were never left without resources, without information on this person. So it was good to be able to have so much to look through, not just necessarily for practice, but to actually come to a conclusion of what we thought was happening. And I think that's the good thing about this as well, is that we did think about what if this is a genuine thing. So we just wanted to put it all on the table, and now we have done everything our best to prove either way that this is a scam or this is not a scam. Even if it's just 1%, let's just look through and check that we have done everything we can to prove that this is a scam, and I think we did. I think it was a lot of work and resources.
And I think it was a good example of like doing research into social media and then doing like corporate research, because, you know, we're looking for companies and stuff that may or may not exist. And then also like domain and IP type OSINT. We looked into, where all these IPs were coming from. Are they all connected? Things like that. So it was like a broad range of OSINT research.
So I have a
Absolutely. I think
question
it
for
took
you
us,
both.
yeah, of
So
course.
you work together, and that's a question I get asked oftenly, especially now in COVID times and remote working times. How do you collaborate? So you are both on the other side of the world from each other, basically. So how do you do it, time zone wise? How do you take notes of stuff? How does it work as a process, as a team, basically?
I think with working together, and Tokyo, please jump in. This is your interview. I don't want to take over.
Okay.
Like
Sorry.
you have to kind of feel out who you're working with and like what they work best in. And we didn't really know when we first started. We did the Airbnb blog first, so that's kind of where we felt out how we were gonna contain our ideas, and we just kind of did a Google Doc since we could both access it, and just kind of dropped in information and then like refined it as we went. She's much better at like organization than I am, so I would dump information and then like let her sort it.
I think that was one of my favorite parts, just because we had so much information at one point. It was good to be able to pick and look exactly what we have. Where does this go? Which category does this go? Organize it in a way so that if we were to come back in 6 months' time, that we'd know what we're coming back to. And I think Ray worked very well with that to give me freedom to be able to organize this so it's easier for both of us, and to be able to just make this collaboration a lot better. But yes, we did talk a lot on Twitter, on the messages, and on Google Drive. I think it definitely helped to share our resources, so we both knew that we had separate things to look into, and then we brought our research together into one and to realize, oh yeah, we had similarities. Oh my god, this links with this, and we found this. And I think
the
it's
excitement
amazing.
kind of builds.
Yeah,
when you're working together,
absolutely.
that's the good part, is you can like play off of each other. And
yes.
like honestly, when we did the Airbnb blog, we do all the research and then try and write the blog from it. So if you don't keep good notes and you're trying to write the blog, you have to like go back in and recreate the research to figure out how you found it. And I think we learned from that first one where we kind of failed at that, or maybe I did. And then the second one, we were much better at like keeping track of all our sources and stuff. So I really like collaboration. I work better like that. I like to see what other people can find and play off of that.
I completely agree. I think that's one of my favorite parts, just sharing the information and knowing that you're not alone in this, and that you're getting a second opinion. Someone else might think differently or might find something else. Absolutely. It takes practice. I hadn't really collaborated a lot either before. So it takes practice to listen to someone else, to accept their ideas, to test it out, to push it forward, to just that's
we think we lost a little bit of audio.
Oh
no
my
worries.
God. Okay.
We lost your last sentence.
You're back.
Tokyo. You're back.
So I was saying that yes, absolutely. I think the collaboration works very well when trying to listen to other people, listen to their opinions, to their research, how did they get to research, learn from other people. And because I was, of course, working with Ray, who's much more experienced than me, I had a lot to learn. So
I mean, honestly,
definitely.
when we did the first one, I was not. So don't give me too much credit.
I thoroughly enjoyed, and hopefully we'll work again in the future.
So, and now I need to ask the question that we ask all our people that are on our interview. So what is something that you want to learn within the open source intelligence realm that you haven't come to yet?
I think I would like to continue researching the world. I swear, because I've started with Japan and I'll be on Japan for a little while longer, I feel like I just want to do things a little bit differently. I enjoy getting outside my comfort zone, which this is hard, incredibly hard, but thrilling, exciting. And I feel like there isn't a lot of focus on other countries when it comes to OSINT. and I just want to push some countries out there and just spend some time on them. And I think that will teach me a lot just by learning other countries, how they work, what they use, everything about them that could be OSINT related. And yes, I think learning about other countries, researching the world for me would be a big push. And after Japan, I just have to think about something else to focus on. But otherwise, I would love to collaborate again and see where this takes me.
Honestly,
So,
I think if you
I think a
created
guest block. I think we get a guest block coming on here on the OSINT Curious.
No, thank you.
I was just going to say, if you create resources while you're doing that, I think that would be very beneficial to the OSINT community, because I find myself, struggling with international things. There's not a whole lot of resources out there, and if you're collecting these as you go, maybe you could make a resource.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the main reasons why I started the blogs, is to be able, for me as well, to look back into it and add to it, or take away, of course, but also to share it with the people who are truly interested or who need it. I know some resources are probably already known by some people, and absolutely perfect. I just want to make sure that maybe it reaches the people that don't know about this. And I think I've had such great feedback from my OSIS in Japan blogs, because it's such a topic that you don't really see a lot out there on Twitter, and that's exactly why I did it. I just want to make sure that if people ever need to, that there's something there for them. And I think, just try to put as many resources as I can, whether in a blog or a post. Yes, like I did the other day with Mount Fuji. It was such a sweet find. Beautiful pictures of great, well done, when they just put pictures of how you should see Mount Fuji and from what distance. So it basically shows you, if you are placed in a location, should you be able to see Mount Fuji from that location, and how small or how big should it look? And it shows you distance. It gives you a lot of information. So absolutely, all that kind of stuff, I'm happy to share. Is amazing work. They have a lot of resources.
Do you have any specific resources that you like to use for Japan? Not to put you on.
I've got resources that I use a lot, especially when I play GeoGuessr. I found my rhythm, and I've got a lot of websites. For example, telnavi.jp, that's my main website, or JP number, that I use for phone numbers. They're so accurate, they're so good, and they don't just give you the location, they give you a lot more information about the company, about them in general, about who you're researching. So I think I found them very reliable and accurate. I think 9 out of 10, they've given me an exact, they've led me to an exact location down the line. So I do have a lot of good resources, but again, I found some random ones as well, that I don't know when I'm going to use them. Depends where I'm dropped on GeoGuessr.
You have to collect them anyway. Save them forever.
Absolutely.
Just like Pokemon, right? Gotta catch them all.
You never know when you'll need them. You have to save them all.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, well, I think, looking at our time, we covered a lot of subjects with you, and I think we could spend almost a couple of days with you talking about all the wonderful things you do. Let us close off with you giving our community one tip when they start out. Where should they start? What's your main tip? Because you learned a lot these past 3 years.
I think probably the main thing is definitely to go out there, whether it's physical world or Twitter world, and talk to people, not to be shy, and actually share the fact that they want to learn. One of my biggest struggles was that I'm quite shy, and I'm not the first person in the line to go and say I need help or I want to help. No, I'm not like that, unfortunately. But people need to do that. I think that's the main tip: is post, tell people you want to get involved, tell people you want help, or you want to do things, you want to learn everything, because that's the only way that they'll see you and they'll get you involved. And yeah, absolutely, I think that's something I've got to learn as well myself.
Well, I think you're doing a great job with that because
Definitely.
we found you, we know about you, and we really enjoyed your great examples that you just talked about. So I would really, really like to thank you for all you do within open source intelligence and with the community. People can check you out on Twitter, Tokyo_V2, so version 2 of Tokyo. And if you don't know where to find her, you should practice more OSINT and be more OSINT curious.
And if you want to do an investigation with Tokyo, you
Yeah.
go to the Searchlight Discord, and I'm sure we can come up with an investigation for you.
Yeah, and that's also a great place to start, the Searchlight Discord, of course. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So anything
Absolutely.
you want to add, Tokyo, before we leave and say goodbye to our OSINT curious audience?
No, lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for having me. I'm lucky to be here, and I'm grateful that I managed to share a little bit of my story with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was this week's interview with Tokyo. I hope to see you on either a live webcast or another interview. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.